Hello, Tab Nation, it's Tom, and today we're going to be branching outside a little bit from AutoHotkeys like normal, and we're going to be doing another Python video. This is going to be a really cool one, at least I think it's cool, but we're going to be using Python to do face recognition. Didn't really even know this was a thing until I kind of stumbled across this library and was like, that sounds cool, I'm going to do a video on it. So hopefully you have some use for it, or just a way to learn some fancy stuff with Python. I'm going to be using Visual Studio today. Normally I use for AutoHotkey I use Notepad++, but for some reason I just like using Python in Visual Studio better. It's really to each his own, so use what you want. So right away we need to get what we need. So I'm going to put this code in the description below. So right here we got this website right here. So let's highlight that, try to. And this is an XML file that we are going to need. So we're just going to go in here, and it's going to be this long file with a bunch of code. All you're going to have to do is right click, go to Save As, keep the name as it is, don't change it. It's an XML document, and just push Save. Now, what you're going to need to do is make sure you create a folder, or at least have this in the same location as your script is going to be. That's just going to make it a lot easier on us in the long run. So I just created a folder right somewhere here called Faces. And as you see, I have my Python script here, which we're going to be going over. And here's that XML file, can't talk today, that I was talking about that I downloaded. And then here's the two images we're going to be using. So in the first image, it's just a picture of jellyfishes. There's no face in there. The second image is a picture of me. So there is a face in there. So that'll be important. So as you see, they're all in the same folder. That just makes it easier. They don't have to be, but let's do this the easy way. The next thing we want to do is we want to type this into our command prompt, pip install opencv/python. So we're going to open command. You can just push to start, type cmd, push enter. I'm going to get that. Copy and paste it in and push install. So it's not going to work right now just because I don't have this up and running. But a bunch of stuff will start happening. You'll see like downloads, and then it'll tell you when it's complete. Alright, just so you know, in this video, as of right now, I am using Python version 3.9. I usually have version 3.10 at this time, but this does not really work in 3.10, so you might need to either have a second environment running 3.9, downgrade, whatever, but 3.9 as of right now is really only where this is going to work. Just a heads up on that. So I just went ahead and downgraded it, versus creating a whole bunch of other stuff. I just like to keep stuff simple. We're going to import CVT, so that way we have all that code ready to go, which is where we got up here. I'm just going to declare these variables, found1, found2, and right now I'm just putting 2 dashes in there. You don't have to do this. I just did it because it helped with some of the errors I was getting that were really bizarre. And it also helps format at the end a little bit when I'm doing a print, depending on what you're going to be using the information for. Really is depending if you're going to want this or not, or change it up however you want. So the first thing we're going to be doing here, we're going to be writing face cascade as our name here equals CVT. So we're calling upon that CVT program dot cascade classifier. Now, something to be warned about in Python is very case sensitive. It can cause a lot of problems. So as you see here in the cascade classifier, the first C is capitalized, and then the C here is also capitalized. If I were to have this as a lowercase, I would throw an error because it wouldn't understand what to do. It wouldn't understand what we're trying to call upon. So in my code, I will be pasting it in the description below. Make sure that you're copying it exactly how it is on here for when it comes to at least the coding part. The variables you can change up however you want, as long as you match it wherever it needs to be in the document. So right here, we're now calling upon that XML file, so we're using the name. So if you were to rename it to something different, just make sure you make it match here, .emxl. Put it into parentheses, put it into quotations. Next, we want to, what image are we going to be looking at? So we got image equals CVT, calling upon that again, and we're doing IMRead, and that's basically saying open the JPEG. So just put the name here that you're using. The jellyfish one, I called it nottom.jpg. Once again, quotations, parentheses, close it in. And then with the CVT, it can only really read black and white images. So we need to convert that colored image that I have into black and white. So we're doing gray underscore image. That's what we're calling it. You can call it whatever you want as long as you match it down here. Equals CVT.CVT, capital C for color. And in parentheses, we're going to put image. Let me get away from there. There we go. Comma, CVT.color underscore BGR to gray, all capitalized. And that's going to convert our image into grayscale, or black and white. Face equals face underscore cascade dot detect multiple scale gray image 1.110. So this is you can play around with these numbers. Really it's about how much it's looking into depth for it, its accuracy. So you can play with that 10 really. 10 seems to be the best, but if you have a bunch of images that might not be doing so well with recognizing, you might want to scale it up or scale it down. So just really kind of play with that number. 10 so far has worked perfectly fine for me. I've had no issues with it. But you really got to try. It depends what kind of images. As you saw, my images are pretty clear. Not a lot going on. So 10 works perfect for me. So here, what we're going to be doing is the actual image search. So for X, Y, width, height, in faces, what are the coordinates of the image? Create a rectangle around the image. And that's basically saying if you find a image or a face within the image, draw a rectangle around that face. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. You don't really need to play around with this. And then I'm just creating a variable here that says equals nottom.jpg. And that's basically saying, almost fell out of my chair. That's basically saying that if it does find the image, draw a rectangle around it, and then found one, list that file document. Now, obviously, this is never going to hit, so found variable 1 is never going to display nottom.jpg. And then here's where we're going to actually do the detect faces within the image, and which we'll call for IMShow. And that's basically, once it does do the detection, it's actually going to show me the image, regardless if it found a face or not. It just is going to depend if it's going to have a rectangle or not. And then key wait, that's just going to wait for me to close the image. And that's just, I really should turn these pop-offs because they keep getting in the way of my cursor. CVT.IMShow, parentheses, quotations, detect face dash image. That's where we're going to display it. CVT.keyWait, parentheses with nothing in it. And that's just waiting for me to close it. Now, the next thing we're going to do is the exact same thing, because I want to read 2 images, not just that one. So all this code right here is exactly the same, except for this time, I'm looking at tom.jpg versus that jellyfish picture. And if it does get found, which it will, it's going to actually save variable 2 as tom.jpg, which you'll see here in a second why we're doing that. This is the same as up there. Display the image, wait for me to close it. And then finally what we're going to do is we're going to take all the variables that we've been collecting if they got hit, put them into one called final, and then it's going to print pictures with faces equals final. So basically anytime it was found, it's going to put it into a final variable that will then display onto the terminal here. Also, you could do it for something else, like you could save it to a text file, and it's going to display, here's all the images that actually had a face in them. All right, so let's go ahead and run that. And we're just going to run that from here. Last time, in the last video, I did it from the terminal, but let's show you running it from the desktop. So here is face rec is what I just called the script. So let's go ahead and run that. So we're just going to double click on it. Let that run. All right, so there's the first images. no rectangles, so it didn't detect a face. And it's now currently waiting for me to close the picture, so I'm going to do that. And there we go. Sorry, I said red rectangle. I have it set to yellow. You can obviously change that to whatever you want. And there we go. It detected that I had a face there, and so it highlighted it. Now, as you see in this picture, there are some faces reflecting in the glass here. They're obviously not clear enough to be detected, which is perfectly fine. I don't want those to be detected. If I really did, I could mess around with some of the numbers, but then that could give you a lot of hits. You know, it could even start messing up my face where it would detect my face like 20 times and there would be like a bunch of yellow rectangles all around my face. So as you see, 10 works perfectly for me. It's not a big picture, not a lot going on, very clear. I'm then going to push close. And since I wasn't in the terminal, you didn't get to see the print, but the print would just say, it would just say like the name of the file. What was it called? It would be called tom.jpg. That's all it would display. But if I had that first picture with the jellyfishes, maybe I was standing in front of them, it detect my face, then when it printed, it would display not Tom and tom.jpg here. So pictures with faces, it would include both, but only one, so it's only display one. Hopefully this is something that you guys find useful. If you have any other ideas on automation with Python that you want to see, definitely let me know in the comments below. I'm starting to get into Python a little bit more often, but still 90% of my channel is going to be AutoHotkeys, with focus being mainly automation. And definitely hit that subscribe button, the bell notification, throwing 2 videos at you guys every single week. And if you have any questions on here, I did kind of run through it real fast, just because the code's there, it's easy to copy. There's really only a few necessary changes that you might need to make. Definitely let me know in the comments below, and I'll be happy to help you out, expand on it maybe in a future video. And I will see you all on the next one.